Do I need to explain to you the difference between a school year and a calendar year then, ma'am? Is that what your confusion is?
No.
Okay. I think we're all capable of grasping the difference between a calendar year and a school year. All right? So let's try not to be so cute or overly technical, and let's try and figure out what's best for your child. Thank you, Miss Fine.
Hayden has attended Givens now for first grade, the repeated first grade, second grade, and now he's in the third grade, correct?
Yes.
So 3.5 school years almost. Okay. Now I'm confused. Directing your attention to Plaintiff's Exhibit 3, if you'll go to the Plaintiff's Exhibit book. It's our order filed.
Defendants 3.
Plaintiff's
Or
3.
plaintiff's 3?
Defendant is 3 letter. That's the order from the May 7th, 2014 hearing, and it was filed with the court on July 7th, 2014. You've seen this order before, correct?
Yes.
And directing your attention to lines 4 through 6 on page 4 of the court's order, you see where the court ordered that Hayden would be allowed to attend Givens contingent on the school granting a zone variance, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you've known throughout the summer that Givens granted that zone variance last June, correct?
I was not in receipt of the zone variance.
Did you ask your lawyer if there had been a zone variance?
No, I did not.
Did your lawyer advise you of the zone variance?
No, she did not.
Did Margaret Pickard advise you of the zone variance?
No, she did not.
So in all of your conversations with Ms. Pickard, with your father present, and discussing the various schools, no one ever told you that the zone variance had been obtained?
No.
Okay. So, during this past summer, you have on several occasions sought through emails and discussions with Margaret to have Hayden attend some other school, correct?
Can you repeat that?
During this past summer, June, July, and August of 2014, you have on several occasions sought through emails and discussions with Margaret, including you and your dad going down and talking to Margaret, to have Hayden attend some other school, correct?
Yes.
And in those discussions with Margaret, she advised, did she not, that there was in fact a zone variance?
She said that he was currently attending Givens.
And the court had ordered that that continue.
Mhm.
And haven't you been consistently told that the court ordered that Hayden attend Givens and that Chris would not agree to a school change at that time?
She stated that an option might be available, but that there was a zone, that there was an acceptance into Givens.
So you did know about the zone variance, but we're calling it something different, that you just knew.
That
knowledge.
the court ordered Givens.
Despite all that, isn't it true that, that this August, even though you had emails from Margaret that said you can't enroll him, that we haven't agreed, that maybe if you can come up with something, you still unilaterally enrolled him at Vanderburg? Isn't that true? Yes or no?
No,
You enrolled him at Vanderburg.
I did.
I just said, isn't it true that knowing he was at Vanderburg, knowing after your discussions with Margaret and your father present, that you still enrolled him at Vanderburg?
I'm gonna object that that's a compound question.
Yeah,
Did you enroll
sustain.
your son, I'm sorry, did you enroll your son at Vanderburg?
Yes, I did.
Asked and answered.
Well, but you never let me answer it. Okay.
You're not supposed to answer
I
it.
mean, you never
She's
let me
supposed to
ask
answer it.
You never let me ask it. You did not tell Chris beforehand that you were registering Hayden at Vanderburg Elementary School, did you?
No, I did not.
And you didn't tell Margaret Pickard, your parenting coordinator, beforehand that you were registering Hayden at Vanderburg, did you?
I did tell her on 7/31 with my father present that I would be enrolling him in the school that I was zoned for.
And did she tell you that you couldn't do that?
No, she did not.
Did she tell you that you were court ordered that he attend Givens?
She did not say court order. Well, she said that currently he was attending Givens.
It was the summer, if we're gonna play that game. So he wasn't attending any school in the summer, isn't that correct?
No, he was not.
Okay. So you knew that he was registered for Givens?
Yes.
And you unilaterally, knowing that you didn't have even joint physical custody, enrolled him in a school that he wasn't to go to, correct? Yes or no?
I'm gonna object that that's compound.
Sustain.
You enrolled him at Vanderburg, yes?
Yes.
Asked and answered.
Knowing that the court had ordered he attend Givens.
Yes.
Not advising Chris.
No.
Not having joint custody.
It's all asked and answered, counsel. I mean, we're there.
Thank you. Directing your attention back to Plaintiff's Exhibit 3. Please read aloud the language starting at line 25 on page 2 through line 2 on page 3.
Page 22, line 22? Page 2, line 22?
Line 25 on page 2.
It is further ordered that defendant shall retain joint legal custody for the time being, which entitles her to obtain medical and school records. However, the plaintiff should have sole purview to make the day-to-day decisions regarding the child and will keep defendant informed of any major decisions regarding health, education, and welfare.
What did you believe gave you the authority to unilaterally this August register Hayden to attend Vanderburg Elementary School for the school year?
Because of the discussion with Margaret Pickard on 7/31.
Speaking of court's indulgence. Speaking of authority on the portion of the court's order that you just read, isn't it true that you made and took Hayden to a dentist this summer for a teeth cleaning without providing Chris with any prior notice of your intention to do so? Don't look at her.
I notified him
After the fact, isn't that correct?
before they began.
Your emails to him said, please make sure he only has soft foods as he just came from the dentist. And he has a follow-up appointment on such and such a date. Isn't that what the communication was?
The communication was advising him that he was having an emergency procedure and that the treatment after the fact was that he could only have soft foods.
I would like to show you exhibit, please direct your attention to exhibit 24. Where in that email does it say emergency?
It does not. It was in a text message to Chris while I was in the doctor's office.
Copy text messages for the court and to Ms. Steinkamp and to your attorney. Why did you have a shot?
I'm gonna,
What's it called? A screenshot of that text?
I could go through my phone.
Okay, so the only email communication is July 30th, 2014 at 2:57 p.m. that we have provided to us, correct?
Currently.
And then on August 5th, 2014, which is exhibit 24. Is it August 5th?
Hold on just a second. Ma'am, is it possible that you have a text message advising him previously to the dentist appointment?
Yes, it's possible.
Do you have it?
On my cell phone, I believe.
And so if you can't find it, then I should hold you in contempt, right?
Yes.
Yeah? And if you do find it, maybe I should hold him in contempt? Do we want to play that game? You want to double down on that one?
Whatever.
What about you, sir?
I've never seen a text message.
You want to roll the dice on that one? We'll give you a chance when you're done. You can look it up later. He'll take the stand and then you can use it for rebuttal. Go ahead. But you understand you're under oath, and you're under oath stating that you sent him a text message advising him of the dentist appointment. All right. That's fine.
I know, I'm just trying to find my place, Your Honor, court's indulgence. So in your, just to confirm, your July 30th, 2014 email, which is Exhibit 24, states, not that it was an emergency, but that you had taken Hayden to the dentist for x-rays to have his teeth cleaned and with fluoride treatment, and that you also had his new back adult teeth sealed.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have Chris's authority to do any of that, or confirmation that you were doing any of that?
No.
What was the emergency?
That he had a crack in one of his upper teeth that was causing him pain.
Where's
And
that?
I do believe I brought the dental bill with me. I don't,
Weren't you going, in your email, you say you're gonna provide it to Margaret?
yes,
Did you?
I did provide her an email from
You
the
let her
doctor's
go.
office.
I would love to ask her, but that's okay. So which of those procedures, the x-rays, the teeth cleaning with the fluoride treatment, or sealing the new back adult teeth, was an emergency that forced you to take Hayden to the dentist without discussing it with Chris?
None of those forced me to take him there. They did it while they did his other tooth.
Katie is not the only professional in this case that you have had problems with, is that correct?
I'm gonna object that that's vague.
Okay, did you recorded conversations with Ms. Steinkamp, isn't that true?
No,
You indicated that you filed complaints against Ms. Steinkamp, Mr. Bonzo, and myself.
I did not indicate I filed complaints with Mrs. Steinkamp.
Okay. Have you had problems with other therapists involved with this case or other principals involved with this case?
Yes.
Who?
Nick Ponzo?
Did you file a complaint against Mr. Bonzo?
More or less.
And with whom did you file the complaint?
With the board that he reports to?
And do you have a copy of that complaint?
No, I do not.
Do you remember the objection to special master recommendation decision rate update you filed on April 10th, 2014? Or your lawyer filed?
On April 10th?
April 10th, 2014.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
Would you go to Exhibit 5, please? You filed an objection to this document, are you aware of?
Yes.
Is that March 28th? No, it's March 28th. No, let me see, I know. Neither's that. In your response filed on April 10th, 2014. I don't know. Court's indulgence. This is why I'm too short. It's in the, court's indulgence again, so sorry. I have to stand up. This is when we need the lectern, Judge. You indicate on page 2 of your objection, specifically defendant objects to the factual background as set forth in the special master's recommendation decision rate update, as it does not accurately set forth the facts in this matter that have led to the objections in the recommendation/decision. I'm reading it to her. Serious statements of facts are reported and failed to be elaborated on in a ploy to mislead the court and continue to harass and character assassinate the defendant. Do you see that? Do you remember that being filed? That objection? And you
I
stating
do
it?
remember filing the objection.
You do remember filing the objection? Okay. And so your parenting coordinator, Margaret Pickard, has been engaged in a ploy to mislead the court? Was that your position?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And she said, and according to you, your parenting coordinator has been engaged in harassing you and assassinating your character. Is that right?
That is what I wrote.
And you told the court that, quote, I have acted, Fran Fine, in an unethical and unprofessional manner for which you have submitted a complaint to the state bar. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
On page 6 of your April 10, 2014 objection, you also attack the therapy and opinions of Dr. Joe Velasquez, who you state, quote, shared the same exact building, only doors away from where Francis Ann Fine is today. Did I pick Joe Velasquez? Or did the court pick Joe Velasquez?
I cannot answer that question.
Referring again to Plaintiff's Exhibit 5, Margaret's recommendation filed March 28, 2014, what specifically is untrue in terms of what parenting coordinator Margaret Pickard states?
What page?
Well, I'm asking you, referring to Exhibit 5, can you tell me what specifically is untrue in terms of what the parenting coordinator Margaret Pickard states?
I'd have to reread the whole 12 pages.
Well, okay. You filed an objection, is that correct?
A long time ago, yes.
You don't feel that way anymore?
I've moved past a lot of it.
Have you ever reimbursed Chris for the out-of-pocket medical expenses he's incurred for Hayden?
And
Object if that's vague.
Have you ever reimbursed, well, I'm asking if she's ever
Allow it.
reimbursed any.
Funds is my question.
I'll get there,
Any of them.
any of them. There were 2 in his papers. One for the wrist.
It's fine. If you want to ask a question, ask a question.
Have you ever reimbursed Chris for out-of-pocket medical expenses that we referred to in our motion?
which 2 out-of-pocket expenses are those? No, I have not,
For the broken wrist.
to make it
And
easy.
have you reimbursed Chris for any of Dr. Stein, of Ms. Steinkamp's costs, expenses, or fees?
No, I believe there was an email sent that he said he would pay for those entirely on his dates.
And Chris sent you an email on, what? Exhibit 19. Chris sent you an email on January 8th, 2014, January 6th, 2014, with respect to the wrist, to the hospital visit, right?
Yes,
And it attached the bill, and it attached his check, correct?
yes.
And you said you didn't respond. Can you tell me when he sent you an email saying he would be totally responsible for Hayden's therapy?
I believe Margaret and Chris sent it sometime around February 2013.
He didn't start seeing Ms. Steinkamp until July of 2013, isn't that correct?
Yes,
So,
but that he would pay for all of his visits and I would pay for my visits with Katie Steinkamp, which I did.
but that you're to divide any visits that are involving only Hayden. Isn't that correct? I mean, Hayden can't drive himself, can he?
No, he cannot.
So one of you has to drive him. So that means that whenever Chris took him, he has to pay?
I cannot answer that.
You own your own home, correct?
Yes.
Directing your attention to Plaintiff's Exhibit 35. Do you recognize this as a copy of your resume that you provided through discovery?
Yes,
And according to this, you have a bachelor's degree, a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from Pepperdine, and you graduated in 2003, correct?
yes,
According to this resume, you worked for Republic Services as a staff accountant, assistant controller from 2008 to 2009, correct?
correct.
And the next job you had was working for Central Christian Church in 2011, isn't that correct?
Correct.
So you were unemployed in 2010,
Correct.
and you started working and ended working for Central Christian Church in 2011.
Correct.
According to your resume, your next job was with Jacob Transportation in 2014, is that right?
Correct.
And you did not work in 2012 or 2013?
No, I did not.
Your father supported you?
Yes.
How did you survive? Is that how you survive financially?
That and my significant other.
And are you still living with the significant other?
I don't live with him, but I'm still with him.
And is he still supporting you?
Yes.
And what's his name?
Philip Mashoni,
Philip Mashoni, M-A-C-H?
Masione.
And what does Mr. Mashoni do?
He,
You are perilously coming close to running out of time, so I'd advise you to use the absolute best, make the best use of the remaining time that you have.
You started working at Jacob Transportation in June of 2014, isn't that correct?
yes,
Directing your attention to Plaintiff's Exhibit 33, your answers to interrogatories. You there? You recognize this is a copy of your responses to our first set of interrogatories.
yes,
In the upper right-hand corner of the first page of this exhibit, do you see when it was served?
9/17/2014.
Please go to page 2 of Plaintiff's Exhibit 13. Specifically interrogatory number 3 and your response to it. Do
Yes.
not state that you have been employed by Jacob Transportation from June of 2014 to the present,
Yes,
which would have been a month, is that right?
yes,
Now move forward to interrogatory number 4, which asks you to state your gross monthly income received from each employer listed in the response to interrogatory number 3. On the next page, do you see that? Your response was, quote, "The defendant gets paid $12.50 an hour and is not allowed unauthorized and non-prior approved overtime. It is expected that the defendant should get close to 40 hours a week. It's not 40 hours, if not 40 hours a week, but does have to take off for Dr. Gary Lenkite's weekly visits.
yes,
Isn't it true that you were not working at Jacob Transportation on September 17, 2014?
yes, it was not.
In fact, isn't it true that you were no longer working at Jacob Transportation when you began counseling with Dr. Lenkite?
I don't know the exact date, but I was through July partially.
Isn't it true that you were permitted to resign from your position at Jacob Transportation on July 10th, 2014, following its decision to terminate your employment for, quote, violation of company standards of conduct?
I believe so.
And that would be Plaintiff's Exhibit 21, correct?
What are you referring to in 21?
On page P0070. And what's the date of that, that's the hire date? June 2nd, 2014? Not July, right? June 2nd? And you were terminated on July 10th, 2014, isn't that right? And your first appointment with Dr. Lenkite was July 17th, 2014, isn't that right?
I believe that's what he stated.
So,
I do recall having to take off to go to my first appointment for him.
directing your attention, so why did you say you were employed by Jacob Transportation on September 17th when you weren't?
I did not state that, to be clear. It was answered prior, but I guess the prior office dropped it, so when they refiled it, that's the date that was on it. That's what I turned in.
Okay. But at the bottom of page 1 of this exhibit, if you go to Exhibit 32, I'm sorry,
Exhibit 32?
that's your FDF, sorry.
Is there anything that's not work-related you're gonna wanna ask the witness?
I'm almost done, I've got most of it in, and I've gotten it in.
All right, don't let me slow you down.
Okay, directing your attention to Plaintiff's Exhibit 32, which is your FDF filed on October 28th, 2014. And Judge, this is designed to show you.
You got less than 10 minutes of your time, allotted time remaining. That's all I'm saying.
For both or just for her?
For you,
Vera-
your total case.
Okay, veracity. Do you recognize this as a copy of your latest general financial disclosure form filed on October 28th, 2014?
Yes.
At the bottom of page 1 of this exhibit, what does it say regarding your prior employment?
Jacob Transportation, date of hire June 2014. termination July 2014.
And you were hired for temporary position in accounting while employee went out on maternity leave. Isn't that what that says? So that isn't true, is it?
It is true.
Okay. Why did, never mind. Directing your attention to plaintiff's the order from. I'll pass the witness and I'll.
How much time do I have left?
70 minutes.
Did you ever have a conversation with Margaret about other potential schools that the child could be enrolled in?
Yes.
And what was that conversation?
The conversation involved originally schools that the father and I were zoned for, but then it was recommended that I pick something that is a charter school, public charter, so that it could be equally located between the father and I as best as possible.
Did you ever discuss Vanderburg?
Yes.
And what was Margaret's statement regarding that?
That because of the issues and
Hold it. That's a hearsay.
What was your understanding of your ability to attempt to get the child enrolled in Vanderburg?
that she believed he could not be enrolled there.
Okay, and was there any way to determine whether Vanderburg would take him other than enrolling him?
No, other than knowing that I did not have any altercation with them.
Was it ever your intention to have the child start going to Vanderburg just because they were able to enroll him?
No.
Did you communicate to Margaret prior to the first day of school that you were able to get him into Vanderburg?
Yes.
And it was your understanding that at that point they would consider, or she would pose the alternative to Chris?
Yes.
The only thing standing in the way was the school?
Yes.
Okay. Who typically helps the child with his schoolwork?
I help him when I have him, and I believe the father helps him when he has him.
Okay. Have you ever received an email about the child's schoolwork being missing?
I believe so.
Can you turn to what is marked as, Exhibit MM.
That hers.
Do you know what this is?
An email between the father and I.
Okay, and what's the substance of, can you turn to the next page?
Yes.
Do you recognize what this is?
I do now.
And what is it?
It's, the message is missing, but an alert of some sort from a school website that reminds us of assignments due.
Okay, and what was the reminder on this?
A month-long book report that would be due a day after receiving this email.
Okay. Now, how are these generated, the reminders?
I believe they're generated electronically from the website that the parents signed up for to their email.
Okay. So, per your knowledge, was the report, or it was a presentation or a report, what was it?
It was a book report and a presentation.
Okay. And had that been done up until this day?
No, it had not.
And did the day you received the email fall on one of your days or one of Chris's days?
I received it about 20 minutes after leaving to pick him up from school, my day.
Okay. And what did you do to complete the report?
We went through the book that he claimed to have read at the father's house. We downloaded it on iBooks, purchased presentation material, reviewed a presentation that he would do for the class that was due the next morning.
Did the assignment get turned in?
Yes, it did.
Was there ever any communication between you and plaintiff about the substance of the report?
No.
No. Was there ever any communication between you and plaintiff about there being an assignment at all?
No.
Does plaintiff typically communicate with you about assignments?
No, he does not.
Now the email goes on to talk about class messenger, correct?
Yes, it does.
What is that?
It's a website set up by the parent, informing them of school projects, testing, what the testing will entail, and what the due dates are.
And was this the first time you had heard of this?
Yes, it was.
Do you currently have access to this?
There's various accounts. I met with the teacher and attempted to get the login information in the different websites that possibly were being used so that I could be on board for receiving alerts.
Okay. And so were you able to get all of the logins?
One of them I could not. There's only one login assigned.
One login assigned for
For
who?
one of the websites.
One login assigned for who, though?
For my son. Our son.
So both parents are supposed to use the same
Yes.
one. Have you ever requested those from Chris?
Yes, I did.
And did you get a response on that?
No, I have not.
Okay. Can you turn to what's been marked as Exhibit CC?
Yes.
Now, if you flip through to the last page, have you ever seen this before? It's Defendant 0111.
The registration form?
Mm-hmm.
I did see it in when it was subpoenaed.
Okay, and before that, you had never received a copy of this?
No, I did not.
Can you tell me whose name is listed under parent guardian information? What's the first name listed?
The father, Chris Horodesky.
Okay, and under his name, who is next?
The grandfather, Daryl Horodesky.
Okay. Now below those two names, it says mother guardian email address and then father guardian email address, correct? In the same box?
Yes.
If you were filling out that form, who would you believe went in each of those boxes?
The mother and father.
Okay. And what date was this filled out on? Do you have any idea?
It says August 25th of 2013.
And what was your custody, your legal custody designation at that point?
Joint legal.
Now your information does appear in the second box, correct?
Yes.
And you see the phone number associated with that?
Yes.
Was that your current phone number in August of 2013?
No, it was not.
And what was that phone number?
This phone number
Mhm.
was a prior fax line.
And how do you know you weren't using that fax line at that time?
Because I had provided him with my new phone number.
Okay. Do you know when you got rid of that fax line?
I'm not sure exactly. Probably sometime after this previous school year.
Okay. At the time of August 2013, did Chris still call you on that phone number?
No.
Okay. Now, if you look under emergency contact, can you read the first name?
The father, Chris.
Okay. And can you read who the second emergency contact is?
The grandfather, Mr. Horodesky.
Okay. And the third contact person?
Greg Horodesky.
And who is the fourth?
Myself.
So you were not listed until fourth on the emergency contact list.
What is it, what are you looking at?
I'm looking at CC,
Right, it's right there.
and it's Defendant 0111. So what is your understanding of the order that these people were to be called in case of an emergency?
I was shocked to see that I wasn't listed where the parents were and that I was the fourth contact for our son under emergency.
Has anyone from the school requested your current contact information?
They do at the beginning of the school year, the teachers, so it's provided to them our email and our contact information.
Do you typically get contact from the teachers or from the school?
Not typically unless I initiate it.
Okay. Is it your understanding that there has been anything updating this form to the school?
Not that they have in their file.
Can you turn to what's been marked as plaintiff's exhibit or defendant's exhibit P?
Yes.
And about, you heard, about halfway through, there's a sentence that starts with also if.
Yes.
Can you read that?
Also,
Go through, read that sentence and the next one.
Also, if for any reason you cannot pick him up on time, they will contact me or Greg, and then he will be available for pickup at Greg's house or another convenient location for pickup. I just want you to know because I don't want to see you lose any more days.
Okay, and then later on in the email, does it say, please do not take this as a threat, this is more of a heads up, or just be aware because it will happen, is that correct?
Yes, it does.
Did you take that as a threat?
Yes, I did.
And what did you believe would happen if you were late for school?
That I would lose custody of our son.
And how did you believe that would occur?
Through a motion, I believe done possibly by the school or prompted by the school.
So you believe that, well, you believe that the school would file a motion?
Yes. Or the father.
Did you ever pose any other options for the schooling besides Vanderburg?
Yes, I did.
And when were those, I guess, posed? And who were they posed to?
They were posed to Margaret on July 31st of this year.
What were the
And
options?
prior.
What were the specific options that you?
I listed at first schools that we were zoned for, but then I reduced it down to public charter schools and private schools.
And was any further discussion given to those schools?
No, I just received an email stating from the plaintiff that he wished for our son to remain at Gibbons.
Can I have you turn to Exhibit A? And actually, I'm going to have you turn to Exhibit HH. I apologize. Do you know what this is?
This is medical records picked up from Valley Hospital from June 2013 regarding a visit that our son had to the hospital.
And what was the visit for?
An injury above his right eye that he obtained at the Hollywood Rec Center.
And when were you notified of the injury?
I was notified a couple hours after the injury occurred.
Okay. And how were you notified?
Via email.
Who sent you an email?
The father.
And what did it state?
That our son had a minor abrasion to his upper eye and was taken to the hospital to have it looked at.
Okay. Can you turn to Exhibit KK? And is this your response to that email?
Yes, it is.
And what did you state?
Thank you for your email. If possible, in cases of emergency or important matters involving our son, could you please maybe call my cell too? I would really appreciate that. Unfortunately, I just read your email because my father said you called him around noon today, and my father was updating me, letting me know that you had emailed me, and Hayden was taken to a hospital following a slight accident at the rec center.
And what time was that sent at?
12:55 p.m.
Now, was there any more that happened during that hospital visit for the child?
There were complications for his surgery. He was overdosed on anesthesia and poison control was called.
And are you aware of approximately what time that occurred?
In looking at the report, it occurred prior to me sending the email to the father.
Can you turn to what's marked as defendant 188 in that exhibit?
Yes.
And it says ED nursing special case note. States at 12:45. I was informed
What are
patient
you referring to?
188 in
What?
HH.
number?
Nursing note, it states at 12:45, I was informed the patient was still sedated. They determined that patient weight stated 56 kilograms in the system, and patient is actually his weight in pounds. Doctor was,
Are you gonna read them all? I mean, is there a question?
yes,
What's the
there
question?
is.
Have a
That's
read.
fine.
Objection, Your Honor. Is she just gonna read all these medical reports? I'd like to know what the question is.
Go ahead.
The
Your
question is,
question.
at what time did it occur?
It appears to have occurred at 12:45.
And was your email sent at 12:55?
Yes.
Okay, so
Objection, Your Honor. What personal knowledge does she have about this? These are medical records. Was she there? I'm objecting because I don't have a custodian of records. I have nothing. I don't know where these documents came from. I just
are
see
you
them.
objecting to the veracity of the documents, or are you objecting to foundation?
I'm objecting because she's testifying to them, and I have no idea.
It's foundation, counsel. If you lay the appropriate foundation,
So, Amber, have you ever seen these records?
Yes, I have.
Where did you see them before?
I picked him up from Valley Hospital.
Okay, and approximately what date did you pick them up on?
About 2 days following the incident.
Have you reviewed them?
Yes.
Does this appear to be everything you picked up from Valley Hospital?
Yes, it does.
I move they be admitted.
And I object based upon the fact that there's no affidavit of the medical facility and the custodian of records.
they don't meet the requirement for.
Your Honor, they're a business record.
Yeah, but not from the.
You have a affidavit from the custodian of records?
No, because the objection wasn't to authenticity, it was to foundation.
She was testifying as to it. If there was a custodian of records, I wouldn't have objected. I assume that there was, but there's not.
I mean, that's all I would be looking for is something from the custodian of records, and
Understood, we do not have a custodian of records certificate, but I think that they can be admitted under the hearsay exception of business records.
And I would object. There's no hearsay exemption.
no.
There is an
H-
exception from business records.
Well, right, there's a business records, but
These are medical records.
They're
Yeah.
kept in the ordinary course.
I'm going to sustain the objection. You can ask her questions, but don't ask her to refer to the exhibit.
Understood. So, he was overdosed at some point, correct?
Correct.
And when did you learn about this overdose?
At approximately 3 hours later,
Okay, and how did you learn about it?
I had called Chris's phone, FaceTime, to speak to them in my.
Were you under the impression, I guess, what was your impression of how Hayden would be doing when you made the phone call?
That he would be recovered and probably leaving the hospital.
And when you made the phone call, who told you that he was still in the hospital?
Objection, hearsay.
The father.
It's not hearsay.
Overruled.
I just said it's not hearsay.
Did he detail to you what the circumstances were?
He did state that the child underwent surgery for sutures and that he was overdosed and having complications.
Did he indicate how much longer they would be in the hospital?
A few more hours.
Okay. And at that point, was it your understanding that you could go down to the hospital and see the child?
I had asked where they were at, and he received a FaceTime call and had to quickly hang up.
So what did you assume based on that?
Objection, not responsive. Non-responsive.
Ask the question.
I don't even remember what
Yeah,
question
no,
I
just,
asked.
I mean, you were in the middle of
that I
asking a
couldn't
question,
attend.
so go ahead.
What was your understanding based on the ending of the phone call of whether you were welcome at the hospital?
That I wasn't welcome.
Okay. Now, was this the first time that you were notified after the fact about a hospital visit?
No.
How many other occasions approximately were there?
Essentially each, a couple.
Couple. Was it every time he went to or the child was taken to the hospital you were notified after the fact?
Yes.
Okay. There's been a lot of back and forth about an issue with the burning of a mole. Can you tell me exactly what went on?
Hayden had for the second time some warts, this time located on his neck, and
Foundation, please, date, time.
Approximately when was this?
approximately early February 2014. Well, they occurred prior, but the treatment was prior.
Okay, so he had some warts on his neck. Was this the first time that he had warts on his person? I guess?
No, he previously had them on his forehead and above his upper lip, summer of 2013.
Okay, and during the summer of 2013, did you discuss these warts with plaintiff?
Yes, I did.
And what was the substance of the discussion? What did you guys decide?
He quickly looked up the information on it and was happy that it was treated, and he knew how to take care of it after the fact, so that it didn't spread.
What did you decide to do about the warts?
To treat, well, they had already, to take care of them, to freeze them off.
So you spoke to Chris about freezing them off,
Yes.
and he said okay?
Mhm.
And what method of freezing did you speak to him about?
Dr. Scholl's over-the-counter freeze away.
Okay, so you used that on his, it was on his face?
Mhm.
Okay. And then in, I apologize, February of 2014, the same issue returned?
Yes.
Did you use the same method of treating those warts?
Yes.
Okay. Was there any pain that the child expressed?
No. It's like,
Did the same Was it the same recovery each time that the treatment was used?
yes.
Can you turn to what's labeled as Plaintiff's Exhibit 24? Can you look at what's marked as P0187? And in this email, do you talk about how there was an emergency appointment scheduled?
Yes.
What's the date of this?
August 5. Prior to this point, was it your understanding that anyone was thinking this was anything other than an emergency appointment?
No.
So, per your knowledge, everyone knew this was an emergency visit.
Yes.
Did you ever receive communication that you should not contact Katie any further?
Yes.
And approximately when did that communication occur?
I want to say March
Of
2014.
After that point, did you feel free to contact Katie with any concerns that you may have?
No.
Okay. And what was your understanding of what would happen if you did contact Katie?
That I would be attacked and possibly end up in a worse situation.
Okay. Can you turn to what's marked as Exhibit U in plaintiff or defendant's trial exhibits? I'm sorry.
Which one?
U.
It's called it's called,
It's not you. Sorry. Now, can you tell me how many absences are listed on this first page, 095?
Total,
Yes.
5.
5 absences? And can you tell me how many times the child was tardy?
3.
And what school year was that for?
For the last school year, 2013 through 2014.
And was there back and forth between you and plaintiff about how many times the child had been absent?
I wouldn't say back and forth, but there was communication.
Okay. And, to your knowledge, was there ever any communication with you and between you and Chris about any of the absences prior to them occurring? I apologize.
Prior to occurring, no.
No, Chris
There-
never knew the child was going to be absent?
No, he was aware that he'd be absent.
Okay. And was there an issue with a car not starting on one of the occasions?
Yes.
Did Chris ever offer to pick up the child?
No.
Did he ever offer to meet you somewhere?
No.
So no solution was posed for that issue.
No.
I don't think I have anything further. I don't have anything further, I apologize.
everything I have I can do in my closing,
All right.
except for one thing. Your exhibit to Chris, which is, I know, Exhibit 24. You notified him on July 30th. Hayden shouldn't eat anything rough for the next 24 hours, blah, 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 blah. You see that? And then your next email to him is August 5th, 6 days later, right?
Yes.
And where in either of those you talk about an emergency? That's all I want to say. In those two, either, is there a word emergency there? Yes or no?
No.
So it wasn't until, so I'm waiting, that's fine, that's all I had. But I'll save the rest for my closing.
Follow up?
No.
Thank you. You can return to your seat. Any other
Chris.
witnesses?
I'm sorry?
Witness?
Chris?
Come forward, sir. Remain standing.
Chris, up.
Okay. I thought you said remain standing.
It said remain standing up there.
Here.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you have in this section should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state and spell your name for the record. You can be seated.
My name is Chris Horodesky, last name Horodesky.
I guess we have to move really fast because I probably have 6 seconds.
Okay.
5 minutes.
I have 5. Well, I'm gonna ask for court's indulgence because
Well, as long as you're making progress.
I'm looking at, would you please look at Exhibit UU? Time is spent looking, UU.
Just you.
All right, is it the one with the school record?
Yeah,
Is the
all the
school
way.
record U, and then go to U. I'm so sorry. Or,
Okay.
wait, I'm so sorry. It's CC, isn't it? CC.
CC.
And I want you to look at the parenting, the exhibit that Miss Dawson showed to Amber. You see it? The Clark
Yes.
County School District registration form?
The zone variance?
No, go to C, Exhibit CC.
Okay, I'm at CC.
Go to the,
Request for zone variance is the first page.
and then go to the 3rd page.
Clark County School District registration form?
See where it says Clark County School District registration form, right?
Yes?
And the first line, and you heard her testify that, Amber testify that she was number 4 on that list. Is that correct? Is that what she
Correct.
testified to?
Yes.
No, that was not what she testified to, the emergency contact.
Counsel,
I apologize.
Okay, so the court's indulgence, please. On the first line is of the parent guardian information is who?
Hayden Horodesky Johnson.
The first line where it says parent.
Father, oh, it's Hayden. School District. Horodesky,
Who?
Christopher, me.
Sam Horodesky?
Father, Christopher Horodesky.
The next line, will you put your dad? Why?
He lives right next, down the street. You can pick him up. He's close by.
Okay, it says parent guardian, and then the next line, it says parent guardian, correct?
Correct.
And who's listed there?
Amber Johnson.
Okay. On the emergency contact, it says Chris, correct?
Correct.
And the next one is Daryl, correct?
Correct.
Why? Why did you put your dad?
He's
Not-
close by.
And what year
And
was
he's
it?
family. He's guardian.
Don't answer my question fast. I want you to think about it. Why was your dad second? Did you have sole custody or did you have primary physical custody at the time?
I had primary.
And is there a reason that you put Daryl, your dad, before you put Amber?
Because I had majority of the time, and he's my father. He's a guardian, and he's close by.
He's not a guardian. Don't go there.
Okay.
Your brother was a guardian temporarily. You are the father. You have custody. So did you put Daryl for a reason? Is he closer or what?
He's closer. He's family.
And where did you put the mother?
Right next to my father, directly across.
How much have you spent on Katie Steinkamp and counseling?
Approximately $6,000.
And did you ever say that you were going to pay for all of it?
I just figured we'd figure it out here.
Where are the pictures? What number are the pictures?
how much have you paid Steinkamp?
Approximately around 6,000 to 6,100.
There's a question mark next to it. Photographs. Where's the new one? I'm going to ask you to look at Exhibit 17 and ask you if I can identify those photos. And does he have the new one over there? Is it in there?
Go ahead.
Well, is this picture was given?
That picture's not there.
Oh, did? Is it in there?
No, there's 2 here. That's it, and that's not one of them.
I don't have his, I put it in my judge's.
Oh, okay. Can you identify those photographs, please?
Yes.
And what are they?
Those are the burn marks on Hayden's neck.
From when?
Around February, when I got him back from school after being with his mother's, at his mother's for the weekend.
And what was the significance of those photos?
Hayden had the warts on his neck. I asked him where the burn marks came from. He said his mother burnt them off.
Well, you heard her testimony earlier that she had done this before. Is that true?
I heard that she did it before, but I didn't know about it.
Was it with your permission or authorization or knowledge?
Nope,
So
I
was
cut
this
after
time
that.
with your permission or authorization or knowledge?
No,
Had you taken him to the doctor already and they had started a procedure?
no,
So what would you, did you take these photographs?
yes, I did.
And they reasonably depict what your son looked like when he was returned?
This should, yes.
Why were you, I move to admit Exhibit 17, Your Honor.
Admitted.
Tell me what your concern was.
Well, he had burn marks, and I'm not a doctor, so I wouldn't administrate it, so I would have taken him to a doctor.
Tell me about the teeth, please.
I'm sorry?
Tell me about the dentist. When did you find out that she had taken him to the dentist?
When I received the email that she had already taken him.
And that, did you recall receiving a text message that she sent it was saying it was an emergency?
I never got her text
Did
message.
you ever hear that it was an emergency?
Never.
Did you ever get the dental records?
No. I asked for them.
You heard her testimony earlier. So did you file this motion to change custody again and to modify the situation based on the burning of his neck?
Yes.
And how long did it take to heal?
There's permanent scarring. I mean,
Would it have been permanent scarring if you'd taken him to the doctor?
according to what the doctor told me, yes.
Tell me
There's
what.
no permanent scarring, I'm sorry.
Tell me about the incident at the rec center. Is that the rec center near her home?
No,
Or what rec center?
it's a Hollywood Rec Center over on the east side by my store. And he was playing, and the supervisor said he was running off the stairs. He slipped, busted his eye, and after they called, I went and got him and took him straight to the hospital.
And when did you notify Amber?
After we got into the doctor's office, my priority was getting him, first aid or getting him help.
So you got him to the hospital, and were there 2 hours or 3 hours, or was it like 15 minutes?
We were there at hours. But we got in
When did you notify her?
after they got us into a room and told me what was going on. As soon as I heard something, I emailed it to her.
And there is no medical bill for that, is that correct?
No, there was not.
Why?
Because they overdosed him with medicine and said they weren't going to charge us anything.
And the emails that they provided to us in their exhibit showed that that you contacted them
Correct.
within an hour.
Is there a question?
I'm sorry?
Ask questions, Miss Fine. You tend to do a lot of narrating.
Court's indulgence, was Amber doing anything else at school? Was Amber doing anything else at Givens that might impact Hayden's ability to continue to attend there?
One day after school, I noticed Hayden didn't have the same clothing on that I sent him to school in, and I asked him how he changed clothes. He's
Object to time
It's
frame?
hearsay.
It's his son.
It's hearsay.
I know, but other comments have been allowed. Okay. Thank you, Court's.
By experts who've interviewed the child, I'll allow it, but it's a hearsay statement. I'm not going to let the parents come in and start testifying as to what the child's told them.
How did you find out about Vanderburg?
the first day of school when they called me and said that Hayden was not at school that day.
What did you do about it?
I told them that he was enrolled at Givens Elementary School, and I went and got copies of the records.
Was there another money that Amber owed you that you discussed in April's motion?
Yes, I advanced $1,000 in Amber's behalf to Margaret Pickard.
Why did you do that?
I didn't want to lose Margaret's services.
And she filed a document saying that we were about to lose her?
Yes,
Has that been reimbursed to you?
it has not.
When, let's talk about Exhibit 22, your email to Amber Ray Hayden's broken wrist. Do you recognize this? Exhibit 22?
Oops. Yes.
What is it?
This is an email I sent to Amber after attempting to call her several times that Hayden had broken his wrist.
And when communicating with Amber by email, do you just email her alone?
No, I do not.
What else do you do?
I attach it with Margaret Pickard.
Are you aware that Hayden was evaluated by Dr. Bello on July 19th, 2013?
I am now.
Did Amber advise you beforehand that she was taking Hayden to be evaluated by Dr. Bello?
No, she did not.
When did you learn that the evaluation had taken place?
After seeing a string of emails.
Directing your attention to Plaintiff's Exhibit 23.
Yes.
What did you ask Margaret Pickard in that email?
I said, I know I asked, why is Hayden seeing Dr. Bello?
Okay, directing your,
That's fine.
what?
Anything else?
I have just one more page that I'm
There
just.
it is. Why is he seeing?
Can you tell, well, there was another incident regarding his back. Is that the scarring? Was that the burning, or was that on his neck?
There was a mark on his back that was similar to the ones on his neck.
Tell me about that.
Um,
That's Exhibit 29.
I emailed Amber saying that I noticed he had a mark on his back similar to the ones on his neck and asked how he
It's
got.
gone.
She responded with, yes, he had those on Sunday and on Tuesday when I picked him up from the rec center, and which were documented how he came to me. Shall I
Did she
go?
also say that he was blistered and sunburned?
Yes, said he was blistered in sunscreen from no sunscreen and serious sunburn after my trip to California.
Is that true?
No,
She claimed that she had emailed you about the alleged sunburn on Hayden's back 2 weeks earlier. Is that true?
I don't believe so.
She produced any such email for this hearing?
No.
Directing your attention to Plaintiff's Exhibit 30, do you recognize this email exchange?
Yes.
Can you tell the court why you were suggesting Amber's time on Sunday begin an hour earlier at 9 a.m. and end an hour earlier at 7 p.m.?
Summer vacation was over and school is now starting.
And so why? Was-
So we have an 8 o'clock bedtime so that we get to school on time. He's
what was
well
the
rested.
response?
She rejected it.
Did she say why?
That her Sundays had already been planned out for her.
Can you tell me one thing? Is there anything, can you tell me one thing about Hayden from that today that you'd like the court to know? One thing.
I'm gonna
And then I'm done.
object. That's vague and
Okay.
that's calling for a narrative.
I'm asking for 10 seconds for him to tell you something about his son that he wants the court to know from the difference between what he was like from the time this thing started in 2012 until now.
Okay.
One thing, 10 seconds, go.
2011 when it all started, he wouldn't even look at me. Now he says, I love you times infinity. Times
Okay,
10.
thank you.
Can you turn to what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 13 or 14? Sorry.
Okay.
Do you recognize what this is?
What exhibit?
14. You're 14.
It is the attendance record from Givens.
And on the second page, did you make notations?
Yes, I did.
And what are those notations?
It states that the absences or tardies were on Amber's watch.
Okay. So all the absences and tardies on this page are on Amber's time, correct?
Correct.
Okay, can you turn to what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 22? I think we just referred to it.
Yes.
And this is the email saying you were at Summerlin Hospital because of the broken wrist, correct?
Correct.
That email was sent November 19 or 14, correct?
Yes.
And that was while you physically were in the hospital with Hayden.
Yes.
Can you turn back to Exhibit 14? And tell me if there's an absence on November 14th, 2013. You have marked as Amber's time?
There's not a date.
The second page.
Yeah, that says it was excused. She was going to be getting him that Thursday. The reason is on our way to school.
Sir, just pay attention to the questions
Okay.
being asked and just answer the question before you.
So you were in the hospital with the child on 11/14/2013, the day that you have marked as Amber's absence, correct?
Correct. He went to school after the doctor.
Can you, I apologize.
Sir,
Sorry.
answer the question that's being asked of you. Don't add anything else. Okay? Nothing else.
I'll fix it. If you'll let me.
Can you turn to 22 and keep your finger on the exhibit 14 as well? In the second paragraph of that exhibit, you state, after we leave here, I'm going to take him to the orthopedic doctor they recommend to us and see what he tells us. The doctor says he will have to wear a cast for 6 weeks. So you didn't take him to school after that doctor's appointment, correct?
I guess not.
Okay. Can you turn to what's marked as Exhibit AA in plaintiff's book?
AA?
Uh-huh. And you're going to look at what's titled DEF 171. The second paragraph states, Chris just informed me that Hayden has an orthopedic doctor appointment tomorrow and a doctor note to return to school on Monday. Is that correct?
Yes.
And the date of that email is November 14th, correct?
Yes.
So you set up a doctor's appointment on 11/15 for the child, which was a Friday.
That was the date I was given, so I followed what I was told.
So there was a doctor's appointment set up by you.
No, I didn't set it up. They told me that was the time
Did you
to go.
accept the appointment?
I accepted it, but I didn't make it.
Sir, why are you arguing semantics?
I'm not arguing. She said, did I make it? And I said, no, I was given it.
You're gonna,
Your Honor, seriously, that's what it was asked. Please don't get angry.
well, seriously, he gave you a date. Did you feel like you had no ability to change that date to another date? It was imposed upon you with no limitation, no ability to negotiate.
May I have a moment with my client, please, so I can.
I don't think we need a moment. I think they both need to just quit posing so dang much and just answer the question straight. Go ahead, sir.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Please.
So there's 2 absences at minimum on this page that were either on your time or the child was set up to have to leave school during your time.
Standard of the question, set up.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you set up the appointment for 11/15/2013,
I guess.
okay? So you knew the child would be out of school that date.
I guess.
But you...
Hold on. The doctor gave you a date for an appointment, correct?
Correct.
You didn't say, I'm not taking him. You said, okay, we'll be there,
Yes.
right?
Yes, sir.
So you knew that on that date and at that time, it was going to be impossible for him to be at that doctor's appointment and school at the same time, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Or do you have some ability to split your kid in half and send him to 2 places at the same time?
No, sir.
Answer the questions directly, sir, please.
And Your Honor, I would actually say that it would be nice if Danielle had asked that question that way, because that way he could answer it. Honest, he answered it honestly. He's trying to be honest and tell the truth.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So, the 5th absence, 11/14/2013, you put down that that was on Amber's time when in fact it was on your time, correct?
What exhibit was it? 14?
Exhibit was 14, second page.
Yes,
And the second one was because of the doctor's appointment, correct?
yes,
Yet you still put down that that was Amber's that was Amber's absence.
yes.
And was this paperwork ever filed with the court?
The absence?
Yes.
I don't know.
Can you turn to what's been marked as Exhibit 16? And the date of this, it's a zone variance, correct?
Yes,
For this school year?
yes,
And the date of it is April 23, 2014.
yes.
What was your legal custody situation at that time?
I believe, I don't know if it was primary or joint, I don't remember, to be honest.
You don't remember whether it was primary or joint?
I don't remember. I'm saying it right now, I don't
Do
remember.
you recall when the last hearing was?
May 7th?
Okay, before that hearing, do you believe you had do you believe you had primary legal custody?
No, it was joint.
Did you inform Amber that you were filling out a request for a zone variance?
Yes,
Did you seek her input on it?
as she was against it, but I was advised by Margaret.
When did you inform her that you were gonna fill out the request for a zone variance? Amber, that is.
She was copied on an email, or the email was to her that I filled it out.
So you told her that you had filled it out?
Yeah, I scanned it.
So it was after you filled it out that you sent it to Amber?
Mhm.
It wasn't prior?
I believe there was discussions prior, but
But, what?
she wasn't notified, yes. I mean, there was discussions, yes.
The question is, was she notified after or before that
I
you had
believe
done
both.
it? Now, your reason on here is Hayden has been attending Gibbons for 3 years and I would like him to stay here, correct?
Correct.
You didn't put in there that Amber's feelings on the zone variance, correct?
No.
Even though she had joint legal custody. I'm sorry, was there an answer?
Oh, I said no, I did not put her.
Question?
Yes. Now, can you turn to Exhibit 17? These are the pictures you took of Hayden.
Yes,
Now, how were these pictures taken?
with an iPhone?
So you took the pictures?
Yes.
Okay. What did you tell Hayden the pictures were for?
I didn't say anything what they're for.
You didn't say anything to Hayden, you just went up to his neck and started taking
I
pictures.
just said, can I take a picture of your neck? I was concerned about it.
Okay. Were these all in the same sitting?
Yes,
You're sure about that?
I believe so. Yes.
On the first page, is that the same shirt in the corner that's in the second?
That looks like the background.
So you never told him what they were for, you just said, let me take some pictures of your neck.
I said Daddy was concerned with his neck. We wanted to have it checked out.
And that's what you said to the chat.
Mm-hmm.
On one occasion, you sent an email saying you're not agreeable to private school, is that correct?
I don't think I said I was not agreeable to it.
What is your feeling on private school?
I'm not against private school.
For Hayden?
Not for anybody.
For Hayden specifically, are you against?
No, I'm not
Hayden going
against
to
it.
private school? So you would have a discussion about private school.
Yes.
Have you ever communicated that to Margaret or Amber or anyone? anyone?
I said I would be open to listen.
And did anyone ever pose any specifics to you?
I know that there was some trouble, but I think as of like recent there was some, but
Listen to the question and answer it. Could you please ask the question, you know, we understood.
Thank you, Ms. Vine.
Did you ever hear of any specific options for private school?
yes,
And what was your response to those options?
I said I was open to listen, but he was already granted his own variance for Givens.
Okay, so you said you're open to listen to it when the options were posed to you?
Yes,
And you never said, no, he can't, no, I don't want him to go to private school.
never said he could not.
So if you were open to listen to it, why didn't any further discussions happen regarding these options? So if Margaret came up to you today and said, hey, let's talk about private school, you would consider sending the child to private school.
No, I said I would listen.
Okay, so you would listen to this discussion, you wouldn't
Council,
participate in it.
let's move on. I don't think you're gonna get anywhere with the line of questioning.
Can you, in your interrogatories, you stated, well, let me pull it out so I don't misquote. How much time do I have left, Your Honor?
You got 20 minutes.
Okay. In your interrogatories, you were asked the question, can I get a directive that counsel will not communicate with her client when he's on the stand?
I simply just looked at him and said, answer yes or no, don't shrug.
All right, well, keep the communication to a minimum. Or
I apologize.
stop it.
Thank you, Your Honor. There was an interrogatory that stated, please list the dates and times
What
upon which.
exhibit?
There's no exhibit. It's his interrogatories.
Go ahead, counsel.
There's an interrogatory that states, please list the dates and times upon which plaintiff facilitated communications and a healthy co-parent relationship between Hayden and the defendant and/or the defendant's immediate family members during plaintiff's residential time. And then it states what a full answer is. Do you want me to read that?
No, I'd like you to show it to him, because that's the way it's done, and I don't have a copy of
Yeah,
it. I mean, I have a copy of it, but I.
Sounds kind of lengthy. I don't know.
I'm not seeking admission. I'm just trying
What
to.
are you, ask the question then. Just reading a long statement to him.
Did you state that you feel there is no way whatsoever to successfully co-parent with Amber?
Just saying we haven't had any positive co-parenting.
Never.
It's always been work.
Okay. And so, based on that history, you believe there's no way to co-parent with Amber.
I mean, I would like that. It'd be great if we could.
But do you believe that that's a realistic option?
There's hope, but I don't know.
And what do you do to facilitate that hope?
I take my son to all this therapy counts, I do everything that we need to do for Hayden's best interest. Anything
Do you think
that's,
taking him to therapy will improve your co-parenting?
I think it's been suggested we all go to therapy to benefit, each other, whether it be us as parents or our son. If we all better ourselves, it makes it for a better situation.
So you think that everyone being involved with a therapist would facilitate co-parenting?
Possibly.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. What do you do to facilitate co-parenting?
Well, I try to notify his mom of things. I try to share if he's sick or, this is what's been happening.
Have you sent an email within the past 6 months that isn't CC'd to Margaret as well?
No.
In your interrogatories, you go on to state that the custody situation you believe, and I'm looking at exhibit or interrogatory 26 if you want to follow along, but the custody situation you believe would be best is defendant or Amber should have supervised visitation, correct?
I believe at the time that I wrote that, yes.
Objection, Your Honor, she's not reading the entire answer. She's reading what she
You
wants.
said you don't want me to read the whole thing, and then you want me to read the whole thing.
Read the whole thing.
Plaintiff believes that he should have custody with defendant having supervised visitation until it is proven that she can put Hayden's needs above her own. If that is proven, then defendant should be afforded alternating weekends with the default holiday schedule provided to the court. Was that your answer?
Yes.
Now, do you believe that Amber has proven that she can put the child's needs above her own or ahead of her own?
No.
And how would she prove that to you?
By doing something. Can I refer to something?
Just,
Sure.
Well, like when I asked to change the times for school when school started. And he said, why not swap the times because it's in Hayden's best interest to be home by 8 o'clock for bedtime. And she said no, she rejected it. So that shows me that it's not putting Hayden's best interest first.
Okay, and if she were to sufficiently prove it to you, you believe maximum she should be awarded alternating weekends with the default holidays?
I don't make that decision. I don't know.
Your answer says it, is that correct? You believe that she should be afforded alternating weekends.
Yes.
So that's your idea of an ideal custody situation. Okay. Now, if I can, just because it was just brought up, on the Sunday timeshare, did you ever see an email from Amber detailing what she has going on during those Sundays?
I believe I got copied on an email.
Was it a full schedule? Was she busy essentially the entire time?
I can't recall what it was.
Did you, and you just stated that you believe it's in the child's best interest, the reason you, if I can rephrase, the reason you requested to move up the timeshare is so Hayden could get home and in bed.
Correct.
Was Hayden enrolled in sports this semester?
Yes.
And what sports were those?
Baseball and soccer.
And what was the practice schedule for those sports?
Baseball, it changed all the time.
What was the
And
practice schedule for soccer?
Soccer was Tuesdays and Thursdays.
From what times?
Soccer was 5:30 to 6:30. Baseball was normally, it took place on Fridays, and it was like 5:30 to 6:30, 6:45.
Was there ever games?
Yes.
When were those games held?
They could be as often as Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, primarily Saturdays.
What times?
They could be early as 7, 8 in the morning, and as late as 6 at night, 6:30.
Began at 6:30?
Yes.
Were there ever times when the child was home at 10 o'clock?
There was one game that ended at 9. I believe we got home by 9:30. It was one game as a makeup.
What about on Amber's time?
I don't know. I didn't go to those games.
Did you ever receive notification from Amber that there was games that got out late?
I can't recall. I remember there was one that she asked about, and that was the makeup game.
Was it frequent that the child had to miss one practice to go to another game?
Could be possible. I mean, it was at her discretion.
It was at Amber's discretion.
It was her day.
What about on your days?
Thursday, there was no 2 practices. It was just one.
So you're testifying that Amber could choose whether the child should go to sports or not?
Why not?
almost done, Your Honor, I apologize. Okay, can you turn to what's marked as Exhibit NN?
Yes.
This is an email from you. It's talking about a game on Saturday, correct?
Correct.
It says Hayden is required to be there at 8:45 a.m. To you, does that suggest that it's optional if he go?
Can we get the date, please?
Can
I
you
was-
tell me the date of that email?
See, date was,
I think it's in the top right corner.
according to this, March 6th.
To you, did that mean he was required to go?
That's what they put in their soccer thing. I mean, they want their players to show up at that time.
No further.
That's required of all players.
So there were days that he didn't go to soccer on your time and days he didn't go to soccer on mom's time, is that correct?
Correct?
And why did you sign him up for soccer knowing that it would be on her Tuesday?
He asked me to.
And you told her about it, correct?
Correct?
And she also knew, did she, that if she didn't take him, she didn't take him?
I don't know if she
Were
knew.
there times that she did not take him?
Yes.
Okay. So did it, court's indulgence. When you got the email from Margaret about the school, you knew that the child had been given his own variance forgiveness, is that correct?
Correct?
Was that a done deal as far as you were concerned?
Yes.
And so, why would you say you were open to listening?
When I was open to listen didn't mean anything was gonna happen.
Were you trying to be cooperative?
Trying to co-parent.
Can you give any other examples of what Ms. Johnson has done not, with respect to not co-parenting?
Well,
Or has it been recent that she's been trying?
I believe recently she's been trying.
Since she started seeing Dr. Lemkite?
Yes.
Any time before that?
I am not, no.
Thank you. I'll pass a witness and I'll go for closings.
Just one further question. Just one question. When you just stated you're open to listening about the schools, but that didn't mean anything would happen. Is that your idea of successful co-parenting?
No.
So, in that instance, you're testifying that you're not successfully co-parenting.
No, I said I'm open to listening what it may have to be said.
But that doesn't mean anything's going to happen.
I don't know until you open up, you listen and see what can happen.
Did you listen?
I was presented an email with some possible schools, and that was the end of it.
Did you ever bring it up after that point?
No, I did not.
Did Amber ever bring it up after that point?
I don't believe so.
No further questions.
I would ask the court to admit Exhibit 33 and 34 because we did have Amber testify to those interrogatories.
I said I objected to them. Well, I have no objection to the portions that we talked about, but there are significant objections within the document that I would like the document admitted subject to, I guess.
You can return to sit with the attorney. I'm not gonna admit 30, what was it 34 and 33 and
Do we
34?
answers to interrogatories?
Have they been filed? Are they documents filed in the?
They were our interrogatories, served on Ms. Dawson, she responded to them.
What's the objection?
There's objections within the document. Several of them are,
Okay, well, if the objections are in the document, then the objections are noted within the document.
that's all I'm requesting.
All right,
Basically, she
33
testified,
and 34 are admitted.
she testified.
Make closing argument?
Yes, can we have a few minutes just to put our thoughts together, or no?
2 minutes. Okay, 3 minutes.
What, why, this is a child's life, Judge, please.
How much time do you need?
5.
Quickly.